Welcome, everyone. This is Tony Reeves. Let's get to it. It was 1992. I had just landed my first real job and moved to Tallahassee, Florida. I had a good salary, a new apartment, but there was nothing in it. However, I did have a major credit card to a particular store. And so I decided that I was going to use that credit card to invest in my first piece of furniture. And boy, I was pumped. Until I stood in that store for 15 minutes and no one helped me. That's when the questions started. So let me set the stage for you for how this was going down. In 1992, I was a young, fresh college grad. I had just recently graduated in 1991, and I just recently had been hired to work for the state of Florida. And so I relocated from Tampa, Florida to Tallahassee, Florida. And I got this new apartment, and it was completely bare. You know, I had some pots, TV, but not much else. But I did have this major credit card that had a $5,000 limit on it. And so I decided that I would set my sights on getting a sectional couch. So I'm sitting here and I'm pumped up and I'm motivated. And so I walked into this store and I went in with my usual gear that I often wear when I'm kind of on my own time. I was wearing, 22 years old, wearing sweats, hat, turned to the back, sneakers, basically just chill, relax, just kind of hanging out and so forth. And in my mind, I wasn't just going to the window shop. I was going there to buy. Got my credit card in hand, got myself ready to go, and I'm ready to make this thing do what it do. And so I'm pumped up and ready for this major purchase, my very first purchase from my apartment. But then when I got to the store, something weird happened. I spent at least 10 to 15 minutes examining the couch. I sat on it, reclined on it, checked every corner and everything like this, even the color and everything like that. It had everything I wanted. It had 2 recliner chairs, it had a cup holder, a pull-out full-size bed. Man, this thing was going to be slamming in my apartment. I could see it. But here's what hit me. No one said a word to me. I saw several salespersons going by. They were all white, and all they did was just walk by. They would look at me and just keep walking. No one engaged me. Not one person offered to help me. Now, I'm not going to lie. After about 15 minutes or so, I started getting in my feels. And finally, when I was thinking about leaving, a young lady who wasn't even working in that department finally stopped and asked me, "Have you been helped?" No, I've been here a while. Because at that particular point, I did feel some kind of way because, as I indicated, I had been there for about 15 minutes before anybody had said anything to me. So you can imagine how I feel. Fortunately for me, she jumped in immediately. She was very attentive. She kind of walked me through everything. She wanted to make sure this was the right size, the right color, it had all the things and so forth. She even got me upgrades in terms of the protections and everything and financing. Well, I had a card, but she was like, "Let me see if we can get you some discounts on this thing." And so I was pumped up. So by the time I left, I ended up buying the sectional and I ended up having a much better experience because of her. Now, let's just be clear. My experience with her was actually great, but the damage had already been done. Why did it take 15 minutes for anyone, to acknowledge that I was even there? And despite the exemplary treatment that she provided, there's still this underlying fact that I couldn't quite realize in my mind, why did no one provide me any service? Now, here's where it gets complicated. I didn't know what lens to look through to determine why I received this type of treatment. Was it racism? Was it how I was dressed? Was it that I looked too young to be spending this kind of money? This couch was about $2,000, $2,500 and so forth like that. So in my mind, I'm trying to process, why am I being treated this way. But this is the psychological trap that a lot of Black Gen Xers know all too well. You got to remember, we were raised in the wake of integration or desegregation. We were told we could go anywhere, buy anything, be anything. But when something like this happens, it made me question, was it just me? Was it the color of my skin? Was it the outfit that I was wearing? All of these things started running through my mind because I was trying to rule out these other things before I instinctively said maybe it was my color, because I thought maybe I should do this first. And it's interesting because I pulled on this experience when years later I would go on to be an attorney and I would run my own law firm, and with 5 or 6 years, I handled quite a few discrimination cases. And I came to understand how subtle racism works. It's not always in your face. It's often about inference, about how similarly situated people are treated differently. And one of the things that I had to learn early on was when I was representing clients was how to rule out everything else before you got to the discrimination portion of it. And it was tough because what I know is this. From my situation, I was standing in plain sight and nobody helped me. I had the money, I had the means, but I was ignored. In my mind, that was bad service. But it wasn't just bad service, that was a choice. Whether it was based on race, appearance, age, or bias, I will never know. But it stuck with me, and it still does. Because at the end of the day, I will never know what was the driving factor for me to receive the type of service that I received. And I'll never know if any of those particular things that I was focusing on was the reason why. So I ask you, have you ever felt like you were being judged before you said a word? Like you didn't look the part? Drop a comment. Let's talk about it. Because this type and this kind of subtle exclusion, this invisible line, is something that many of us in Generation X still carry along with us. Trust me when I tell you this, people, you're not crazy. You're not paranoid. You're just aware.